Greetings nerdy list aficionados, and welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. Today we're looking at storylines that many fans felt went a little too far. Now of course, as with anything, these things can get subjective. Some will feel that these stories didn't go too far at all, or maybe that was part of their appeal, or maybe even that no, they didn't go far enough. But we're gonna walk through some of them, and of course I want to hear all of your opinions and thoughts about these down below. I'm Sasha, and these are the top 10 superhero stories that went too far. Let's get started. Number 10. Ultimatum. Ultimatum is a now infamous event that took place in the 1610, aka the Ultimate Universe. And some felt that this storyline was the cause of that universe's downfall, that this event was so brutal, killed so many, and was so poorly received that the universe just never recovered. This storyline occurred in 2009. It was a big crossover event with 5 core issues, and then of course spin-offs. The first issue sold well, but then it dropped off hard. This series is known for the amount of heroes who died and how brutally it happened. We have Magneto snapping Xavier's neck, Doctor Strange's head being squeezed till it explodes because he was wrapped in the cloak by Dormammu and just But the one that got to most people was the cannibalism, when the heroes round the corner to see the Blob eating the Wasp, only for Hank to go full giant man and then bite off the Blob's head. The thing for many fans was that this brutality just felt gratuitous, as did the deaths, more like a shock value than any narrative one. And so for many fans that made it feel cheap, and it cast a pall over the series and for some, the universe. Number 9. Hail HYDRA Cap. So a lot of this story came down to timing, basically how it was received I mean, because of the political and also social climate surrounding comics, but some would never have liked it because of how it was executed, and the fact that it was the opposite of what Cap stood for. Still, this story has always had its defenders, and still does. So this story gives us a world where Cap was always a HYDRA agent, the entire time, and that this was the always Cap, not a brainwashed Cap, but always. Everything from before, all lies. This rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. The plot launched involving the Cosmic Cube would recreate the essence of Cap, but that would be from another timeline. HYDRA Cap was the Cap, but it's handled in such a way that they now play it off like the recreated Cap was original Cap, but he wasn't. Never forget, because the universes were swapped Cosmic Cube, but I mean that would have made sense and it would have spared a lot of anger. The plot itself is your usual wolf in sheep's clothing, but with all the external factors, it caused a lot of anger. I'm not sure how it would have played off if it had been released years before or years later. It still would have had backlash, but would it have been as much? I want to visit some alternate dimensions. Number 8. Spider-Man Sins Past. This storyline comes to us from 2004 and was an attempt to go back and add some shock value and some more agency to Gwen Stacy during the whole Night Gwen Died event. But the way it was gone about was odd. We're not supposed to talk about this one. The consensus tends to be that if we all pretend hard enough, maybe it won't have happened. Like a reverse fairy. I don't believe. Here it was revealed that Gwen was having an affair with Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin himself, and that she got pregnant and had twins, and that she wanted to raise these with Peter, but Norman wanted them for himself, and that's why he killed her. Agency! I've said it before and I'll say it again. The best part of this story is how when Peter finds out, his first question is whether he was still her first. Classic. Peter then has to fight their hyper-aged twins. Aside from all the plot holes this causes, it was just not well received. Most found it unnecessary and squicky. As mentioned, most nowadays just pretend it didn't happen. Number 7. STARFOX Assault Storyline. Oh, STARFOX aka Eros, on so many of our lists because of this. This plot here is now what this character is most known for, which tends to upset fans of his to no end, who just wish people would look at the other aspects of this character. But this plot, well, it's pretty attention grabbing. Let's put it that way. STARFOX had been using his power to make women fall for him. He was doing this by using his pheromones to sleep with them without their consent. And so he was put on trial, with Jennifer Walters, aka the She-Hulk, as his defense lawyer, whom he had also slept with. And she would later come to wonder, was that consensual or not? It was, but her marriage to John Jameson was not. Eros had forced her to have those feelings. This whole plot was dealt with by saying that STARFOX had been manipulated since his youth, which had caused him to misuse his powers that way. And for many people, it just did not fly, and left a bad taste in their mouths. And many were left wondering wondering, just how does a character come back from that? Well, for many, he never did. Especially in this era of social media, where bringing the story up is just a click away. I mean, we're doing it right now. Number 6, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Back to the Ultimate Verse for this one, with just an overall plot point for the twins. Pietro and Wanda in the Ultimate Verse are having, well, twincest. They're in an incestuous relationship. Why? Because why not? Pushing the boundaries. Also, the series stops to lecture Captain America for being squicked out by this. I'm using the word squick a lot in this video. This one falls in the just but why category. I mean, if you're not gonna do anything with it, then why exactly point out was the point? Still, few who know about it can forget. Not that it happened. But is it as unpopular as these two not being Magneto's children anymore? Maybe not. I don't know. You tell me. Number 5, The Boys. All of it. At our midway point with The Boys, the series by Garth Ennis, where his goal was to out-Preacher his other series, Preacher, to create the most out-of-control series in terms of violence and sex that he could. And well, he certainly succeeded. But for some, it's too far. And a lot of what occurs is exploitative. The period beard is a big one for a lot of people. When wee Huey goes down on Starlight and surprise, it's her time. This video is not family friendly anymore. I'm just always like, that's unrealistic. He would taste that, unless he doesn't know what blood tastes like. I can feel some of you cringing. There was also just the entire arc that was Herogasm, which featured a superhero orgy and the assault of Wee Huey by Black Mar just cuz. Again, Ennis was aiming to be over the top, and for some people that works, but for others, they'd prefer things to be a little more reined in, or at least directed. Number 4, Multiple Man absorbs his son. Jimmy Madrox is the Multiple Man. He has the ability to create duplicates of himself, and he does this sometimes for recreational purposes, including one night where him and a duplicate hooked up with 2 separate ladies, one of whom was Siren, who got pregnant and decided to keep the baby. Jamie was convinced he was the father of that baby, as he was sure that he had slept with her and that it hadn't been his dupe. However, in a horrifying plot point, it turned out that he had been mistaken, and when he went to hold his son Sean for the first time, the baby was reabsorbed into his body. Siren was devastated, and Jamie basically told her to get over it. When it comes to this story, not only is it really horrifying, especially if you have kids, but the fallout of Jamie just not caring essentially also rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Kinda hard to relate to a person that cold, depending upon the reader. Maybe you're into it. Like, yeah. You don't care. Number 3, Nightwing raped. During Nightwing's first solo series, writers were working to establish him with his own set of baddies. This was to really get him out of Batman's shadow. One of these villains was Blockbuster, who entered essentially his arch nemesis slot for a bit. It all escalated to the point where Blockbuster was killed and Nightwing just stood by. Because of all the ingrained don't kill mentality from his time with Bruce, this shattered him, rendered him catatonic for a minute. And as Nightwing was laying on the rooftop, traumatized, Tarantula, a villain/anti-hero involved in this whole arc, mounted him and just had her way with him, even as he asked her to stop. This was then treated as if it did not happen. Years later, the author Devin Grayson, well, she would apologize, claiming she had an arc to go with it, but she left the book before she could implement it. This contradicted an earlier statement, where she said she hadn't understood the ramifications of the plot, largely because Nightwing's a guy. There were plots like this in the 80s too, with the New Teen Titans, then they reversed it, it was a revenge plot. These plots are fine in my opinion, though not everybody agrees with that, but you need to treat them with gravity, you need to think about it. Think it through. Number 2, Identity Crisis. In 2004, DC published a story called Identity Crisis that would end up shaping many of the characters for years to come. And some have come to feel that this story went too far, for several reasons. 1, the transformation of Dr. Light into a rapist, and the rape of Sue Dibney, the wife of the Elongated Man. 2, the death of the Elongated Man's wife and Tim Drake's father. 3, the mind wipe, not only of Dr. Light, but of Batman. That last part in particular cast the heroes in a particularly unheroic light. Even Superman, who knew about this as he sheds a single manly tear about it. The whole thing made everyone feel pretty dark and dingy, and over time many came to feel that it had done damage to the characterizations over time. What do you think about it? Controversial. Number 1, Captain Marvel, or Miss Marvel at that time, gives birth to her rapist, Avengers 200. I'm sure some of you are not surprised that this is number 1. Avengers issue 200, any issue of that number, is supposed to be epic, a reminder of why you read the comic in the first place. Well, this giant special was essentially that episode The Lost from Star Trek TNG, but with an even creepier twist. Miss Marvel finds herself mysteriously pregnant. She has one of those hyper-fast fictional pregnancies, and the team just congratulates her. They don't treat it as scary at all. They don't even get why she would be upset. Next, she has the baby, and it ages super fast, and it turns out it's her lover from another dimension, who implanted himself in her body to come to her dimension. This was the only way he could do it. And the kicker, while in his dimension, he coerced her into being his lover in the first place, so assault. And then the team encourages her to leave with him. This was a mess on so many levels. 1. How is this a celebration of the Avengers 200th issue? 2. Wow, how amazingly tone deaf with no thought given to larger implications. Some defend the story by saying no, it was intentional and she came back and she called them out. But that was actually the result of other writers responding to the backlash and trying to fix it, not a planned storyline. Yeah, not a good look. Memorable though, I'll give you that. No one's forgetting Avengers 200. So those were 10 storylines that went too far. What do you think? Do you actually love some of these? Again, let me know down below. I'm Sasha and thanks so much for watching Top 10 Nerd. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. And we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.